Hello and welcome to this episode of Beyond the Bio. In this episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Susan Routledge, founder of Beauty Directors Club. Susan is a multi-award-winning salon owner, international business consultant and trusted industry advisor. She's been in the beauty industry for over 38 years and is recognised as a top UK industry influencer. Susan founded her own beauty clinic over 35 years ago in County Durham, and it is now the largest independent beauty salon in the northeast of England. She's also one of the directors on the professional board for BABTAC, helping to represent and raise industry standards for the beauty industry. Susan and I met back in 2017 at a retreat for female entrepreneurs. But we've stayed in touch ever since then, and I'm delighted that she's going to be joining me on this episode talking about all things awards. So, Susan, awards. Tell us about your first experience of awards. Was it winning one?
Yes, it was. In my industry, professional beauty has always been the biggest award. And for years and years, watched salons, like the big city salons, win it. And, and you just think, oh, I would love to do that. But obviously, my clinic is 14 miles from any city. So I just kept thinking about it. And then way back then, it was a totally different process.
When was this?
Oh, my God. This is way back in, I think the first time I entered was maybe 2007, way back. And the process then was that you had to get lots and lots of nominations, and Professional Beauty would send all of these little bit like postcards, got clients to fill them in, and then they got posted back. So can you imagine that? I mean, now it would be an absolute fortune. And then someone had the job of counting them all. And I think we became a finalist then. And then the process changed. Obviously, you had to put your entry in and everything as well. We became finalist again, and then we won. We won large salon for the whole of the UK. It was mind blown, for the team. You know what it's like with awards. You're sitting at the table and your heart's pounding, isn't it? And when they say, and the winner is, and it's you, it is just, oh my word, it was just phenomenal. And I think then I just got the bit of the bug for it. We won large salon for the UK, and then we went on and won employer for the UK. And then on top of that, I started doing the Win Awards, and we won Best Female Retail Business. And then on top of that, then there was all of the supplier awards. So we were getting a sort of a chest full of awards. From there, that I think was what really put us on the map. And it just creates such a buzz for your team, for your clients. I don't think there's anything else really that promotes your business as well from every angle. And then from there, I started judging from there. Love that. So I've been judging now, I think, for 12 years. And I still just do my industry. I do professional beauty, also do BABTAC, which is British Association of Beauty Therapists and Cosmetologists, and also Scratch Magazine too. So
very, very experienced. Let's just rewind slightly then to when you were winning them. Are you still entering awards for your business, or are you kind of over that? We've done that. We tick that box.
No, we haven't entered any. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is that I really enjoy the judging process now. And not to say that we won't enter anymore, but my clinic I'll probably do business awards. But I really, really enjoy the judging process now.
When you were winning them for the salon, how did you best leverage those wins? What sorts of things did you do?
I always like to say that as soon as you enter an award, that's when you should start talking about it, because your clients, your customers, they just hear awards. And the fact that you've actually entered already sort of puts you on the map for them, kind of thing, that you've putting yourself out there. Then as well, because you can promote the logos and things. Once you're a finalist, winning is the icing on the cake. But I think there's so much that you can do to promote before you actually get to that final stage as well.
I had never thought actually before around doing some kind of promotion at the point where you've entered. for me, I've always thought, oh, it's the point where they announce the shortlist and you're on it. But actually, you're going one step back, which makes total sense. And that whole window of time is probably quite long, isn't it? From the point where they open for entries, you've got it in, you've found out you're on the shortlist, then you're at the dinner, and then you win. And like, that might be 9 months potentially. It could be quite a long time, couldn't it?
As long as you keep the momentum going, you can really, really leverage it. Really, really.
And talking about the judging then, so obviously you won loads of awards for your business. Did someone approach you to start judging awards, or was that something that you sought out yourself?
I was approached to start judging. Back then as well, it's again changed now. Most of it's online. We used to all go to London and spend the day going through all of the portfolios and all of the information. And some businesses would really, really go to town. They'd be like unpacking a present practically, that have like bows on them and all sorts. Where now, obviously, everything's online. Sitting in that room with all the judges used to be such a buzz as well. Some of the awards are still sit with a team kind of thing, but a lot of it's done online now. In Babtac, one of the awards, we still do visits. So it's lovely going having treatments all over the UK. That's rather nice.
Oh, God, I'm so jealous of that. You need to hook me up with someone that I've got no experience of the industry, but as a consumer, oh, yes. I'd love that. So, so I guess, the judging is kind of another level of awards. What would you say, particularly when a lot of it is online now, what kind of advice would you give people that are looking at entering awards?
Be prepared, because now awards, there are a lot of entrants in awards. So you need to really, really stand out. Sometimes it takes up, for a judge, it can take up an entire weekend. You try to give all of your dedication to each person, or each business, but you have to sort of start doing some elimination. You just can't otherwise. The easiest thing really is to look at, if someone hasn't read the criteria, say it wants, headshot image, an external image of a business. If the images aren't there, then, I put that to one side and I'll dedicate to the ones who've really looked and made sure they've ticked every box. So images, all the criteria that the entry is asking for, make sure that you have all of that. When it comes to writing about your business, it is a great process. Even if you don't press send it's a great process just to fill it in, talk about your business, because we don't really get to shine that often, say how great our business is. So I always say, even if you don't press send, just get practice of filling in all the entry. If it's asking for a 200-word paragraph or section, then try and get it as near to that as possible. If they're asking for 500 words, they want something more elaborate. So judge sort of what they're asking for is how much detail needs to be there. What I always tend to do or advise to do is to look at all of the different sections and then first of all, just bullet point out what you want to put in those areas. What you think is common sense and just common knowledge in your business is what isn't and needs to go in. We do so many things in our business that we just take for granted, but get them all written down. Everything that you're proud of, just make sure that you've got it all written down and then start and write it out. I would always then also say, give it to someone who really doesn't know your business. Get them to read it and get them to tell you about their business. And if it makes sense and if it resonates with you that it is about your business, or have you written something that doesn't really make sense, and then just go through it and make sure that you've covered everything and then just press send.
So many great tips within that. It was interesting hearing you talk about how just going through the process is actually a really valuable exercise in itself. We've got clients that we write award entries for, and the feedback that we're getting from them is actually that process was really valuable in itself, because it's not very often that you take the time to step back and just look at the kinds of things that you ask for in an award submission. So actually it's a great review of what's going on in your business and helps you to get focused and focus on some of those wins that you've had so far. I really like what you were saying as well about look at the bloody criteria. I mean, it seems so basic, but, I've been an awards judge myself, and you're absolutely right around that word count is giving you a clue as to how much detail there needs to be in there. And if they're asking for 500 words and you put 100 in, you're never going to be providing enough of a level of detail to hit that criteria. So really important. You were talking about when the criteria asks for certain things, so like photos or the word count or whatever. If someone has missed some of those key things, does that just turn you off instantly as a judge?
No, but I would always mark someone down on that, because I just think that if you've really, really put your heart and soul into it, you would have looked at all of the criteria. One other thing to really focus on as well, because they are professional awards that you're entering. So when it does ask for a headshot, get a professional headshot or a really, really good one, not when you're out. I've seen that before. Someone thinks, I'll put a really jolly photo in. Think about that. It is professional and you want to shine the best light on every area of your business and you.
I think that's really important to think about. And yeah, we've all seen entries where they put a more playful picture, or I've seen where videos have been requested and the quality's not great. Yeah, it lets people down, I guess, when you're then comparing them to other people that have made it a bit more professional. What are your thoughts about being personal with answers to the questions and sharing personal stories? Do you think that's good?
Depends on the awards, really, and what's required. I wouldn't put anything that can make you feel uncomfortable, but the judge wants to get, if it's an award, a personal award, the judge wants to know a little bit about you and get to know you. I would not put anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, but whatever you think is really, really making you shine bright.
I think it's thinking about, how much personality do you add to it so that it then becomes a unique entry to you, rather than you could just, swap out the business and put any business in and it would apply to them. So it's, how personal can you make it without oversharing or making it an X Factor sub story?
There are so many ways that you can do it, even just how you lay out your application. You've just got to think that you need something that's going to grab a judge, because, when you're on your 50th entry, it gets quite hard. So the judge is trying to give as much time to your entry. So if it's laid out nice, if it's all spaced nice, if it's, if you're not just rambling through, making the word count up, then, if it's all laid out so that it's easy to read, each section makes sense, that means so much. So it doesn't not necessarily need to be that you make it super personal, but anything that you've got that, so many things that you do in your business that, like I've said before, you think are the norm, which aren't. So anything that can be a little bit different. What I like to do, and what tends to happen, is by the time you've finished, you've identified with a few businesses of like, oh, that business does that and that does that. And, they've done that for charity. And so you can identify in the sea of all the others, if that makes sense.
What are the sort of common mistakes that you see people making when they're submitting their award entries?
It's mainly just not reading the criteria, like we said. It's normally missing something out. Yeah, it's normally that they just haven't read the questions as well. You need to read them 2 or 3 times to make sure that you really understand what's being asked of you. I've judged before where it's been a fantastic answer, but it hasn't been what's required for that section.
It's almost like they're giving the answer they want to give without, taking account of the question.
And that's why it's always good to get someone else to read it and read through exactly what they think should be in that section.
That's a great tip, because then if they're looking at it alongside the criteria, then they can pick out bits where, actually you haven't answered this bit. So that's a great shout. Can you, on the reverse of that, think of anyone that's really stood out as a great entry, and anything where people have gone the extra mile that's made you be really super impressed?
I think really, as I say, just having a great layout. so that it's easy to read, so that it's easy to understand and digest.
What do you think about subheadings? If the criteria is there for question 1 and it's asking for X, Y, and Z, what do you think about people putting subheadings in the answer? Does that make it easier?
Yes, totally. It's when it's just one big blurb of words that it makes it really, really hard, because as a judge, what you're trying to do is pick out those key things. So if someone has, even like I said, to start with bullet point, but then you can still bullet point some of the areas as well. Just make it so that what you want to stand out stands out. So yeah, subtitles is great.
So in terms of being an awards judge, what kind of opportunities has being a judge created for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. Obviously, you get to go to the awards, and that's just so, so lovely to be there cheering on for the finalists. Last year, I got a special recognition award through Safety and Beauty, and that was for the work I've done, community work, through everything that I do. The other fellow judges, that I've judged with for many years, plus new judges, it's just a great community, because you get to meet on deliberation calls and things like that. So it's just really, really lovely network too.
The networking element is really worth having, isn't it? Because they're people who are considered to be top of the game in the industry. So you're getting, a full day with them. And has that ever led to any sort of collaborations for you with the other judges?
We all work really closely together.
It's a very tight-knit community, yours, isn't it?
It is, and it's absolutely lovely. So, yeah, we meet socially. Yeah, it's just lovely, really, really nice.
Any tips then for people that have entered their award and then they actually win it? What do you think they should be doing to shout about that?
I always say beforehand, before you get to the award, have a press release ready to go. Even if you are just a finalist, have a press release. So have a finalist one and have a winner one, and then get it out. And I know this from experience. When we won first award, the Salon of the Year award, what I hadn't done was prepare that beforehand. And this was very much when it was newspapers and everything going into the press. And as soon as it gets to a day, 2 days down the line, it's old news. So it has to be, as soon as you win, getting that out there on your socials, on everything. It gets to be very old news, very quick. And it's down to you to make sure that you've got that, so you can get that out straight away. So always, always prepare. And as well, you go on with the intention of winning. So getting it on paper that you've actually won.
Manifesting
yeah,
it.
Exactly.
I love it. And actually having a finalist one and a winner one, they can be fairly stock press releases that you then use for next time as well. I'm just making a few tweaks, and you're right to have all of that prepared. Otherwise it's a bit frantic, isn't it, on that night or the morning after, and kind of missing the boat a bit in terms of sharing that news.
And that is the advantage of having professional headshot and professional images of your business, because then you've got them
ready to go.
Yeah, ready.
What would you say to anyone that's listening to this that hasn't entered an award before and is perhaps feeling a bit apprehensive or a bit nervous? What would you tell them?
I hear quite often that someone thinks that awards are rigged, and I can wholeheartedly say that they're not. Or most, I would say, aren't at all. A lot of people are a little bit scared of putting themselves up against their peers. But yeah, just go for it. But like I said earlier, fill the application form in and just get used to filling those application forms in. And, once you've done it, you may as well just press send, And the thing is as well, if you don't get through, study other businesses that have got through, have a look, see what, because quite often at the awards, the judges I'll have their top comments about that business and what made that business stand out. Quite often, then they are featured in trade press. So you can see what other businesses have done, what's made them stand out. And then you can work towards that. So I always like to say, if you enter and you win first time, you've got nowhere to go. So it's quite nice to enter, not get anywhere, enter, be a finalist, enter and then win.
And I think as well, when you are a finalist, you can usually get some feedback if you've got to that stage as to, did you just miss out? What do you need to do? That's certainly been sort of my own experience where I was a finalist and asked for the feedback that then helped me get over the line the next time. So that's really useful.
As a judge, you always someone will come up and I didn't win, and But to get to that point, to be actually in that room, sometimes the judging is so close. And that there just has to be one person who's there as the winner. And sometimes that person who is the runner-up is maybe half a point off, so don't ever give up either. Because, it just depends who's entering that year. It's just such a great feeling to be part of. So if you haven't entered before, definitely think about it and do it.
Well, I hope that Susan's advice and experience there has encouraged you to consider entering awards yourself. Thanks so much, Susan. Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.